I read her plan to fire me while I was on a heart monitor. Her proof? The budgets I built to clean up her mess. I did not cry. I made a folder. They say stress can kill you. I used to think that was a polite exaggeration. Then I woke beneath white lights, a monitor counting beats because mine forgot the rhythm. The doctor said the infection had turned septic. My husband said the job was killing me. The nurse told me to think of people I loved and nothing else. I nodded because that was what I did. Agree, promise, perform. When the door closed and the room thinned out, I reached for my phone. Just one check, I told myself. One check to quiet the panic. I opened my email. Then I opened my boss's inbox. I still had access because I ran her department, filed her reports, and cleaned after her. The screen bloomed with subject lines like a field of warning flags. Subject: Holiday Sales Help. Time: 11:42 p.m., November 18th. Pamela wrote, "My manager is out sick. Sales are slipping. She is unreliable." Reply: "If she runs most of the work, that is leverage. You cannot fire her on leave, but if you prove misuse of budgets, you have grounds." Pamela answered, "Good idea. She manages the numbers. I will start there." The monitor quickened. I read it twice, slow enough to feel each word slice. For months I had moved money to cover her parties, reworked her slides, and kept inventory and promos from tearing each other apart. Now she was turning the life I gave to the job into ammunition. Anger did not explode, it cooled into edges. I made a rule: do not panic. Prepare. Before Pamela, I had climbed from assistant to manager by doing the work no one wanted. When she arrived as vice president, she called me the backbone. Back then I smiled. Now I know backbone meant pack mule. Pamela was immaculate in meetings. Tailored suits, polished voice, confident hands. She loved optics. Lunches she called meetings, parties she called culture. I made the spreadsheets that hid the cost. When I warned we did not have the budget, she said, "The board wants energy. Move the funds. You are good at making numbers look right." That is the sickness that never shows on blood work. Doing good work for a bad leader. Her first holiday season became chaos. She canceled approved campaigns, hired the agencies her friends ran, changed visuals midweek, and ignored stock. Sales slipped like tiles in a storm. I worked until hours lost their names. Coffee, numbers, silence. When fever finally spoke up, I pretended not to hear. The infection built itself a home anyway, and the hospital claimed me. The morning after reading the email thread, the anger had cooled to focus. I opened my archived budgets, raw dated, with her handwriting in the margins. I printed them. I printed her note from early spring. "If you cannot make the numbers work, I will find someone who can." I printed the incriminating thread with headers and timestamps. Everything fit into a single folder that looked thin and felt heavy. I returned to work on a Tuesday. Pamela greeted me at my desk with a smile that never touched her eyes. "You have done too much," she said. "Let me take something off your plate. The budget. From now on, just drop invoices with accounting. No budget talk." I held the smile she expected. "Thank you. I will rest." That afternoon she handed me a stack of invoices. "Deliver these. Remember, no discussion." I added my folder beneath them and walked to accounting. Vents hummed. Printers murmured. Phones blinked like small, patient eyes. Everything sounded like it was waiting. Lois looked up from her desk. "Senior accountant." "Steady gaze. Steadier hands." "Back in the saddle?" she asked. "Just dropping these," I said. "Pamela told me I cannot discuss budgets." I said it in an even voice for the ceiling camera above the copier. Lois held my eyes for a beat and nodded once. "Understood," she said, sliding the folder beneath ledgers. "Go home. Rest." Behind me the copier fed a sheet that sounded like a door clicking shut. That night I slept 8 unbroken hours. On Wednesday afternoon Pamela tried to lock the shared drive. Too late. IT had backups and access logs. Thursday she did not come in. Friday morning the email arrived. "Pamela is no longer with the company. Please direct all marketing matters to your department manager." There was no farewell, no sheet cake, no speech. Just absence. The kind that leaves a clean square where something used to sit. Lois passed me in the hallway with coffee. Some people bury themselves, she said, and kept walking. I understood. People dig with decisions. They dig with the habit of using other people as ground. Soon they cannot see daylight. The CEO called me in with HR. He apologized. He said the review found budget manipulation and inappropriate correspondence. He thanked me, offered a week of paid leave, and asked me to breathe. I walked out and stood by the window. My reflection looked like a person I had not met yet. Outside, the air felt honest. I took the week. I ate food that tasted like food, not panic. I watched my child laugh. I slept without an alarm and woke up anyway. I promised myself never again to let loyalty cost my health. When I returned, the building felt lighter though the steel was the same. After a few months, I accepted an offer at a new company. My new boss, Mike, led like a grown-up. He delegated. He listened. He praised in public and corrected in private. He set targets that matched inventory and budgets that matched math. Under him, I rediscovered respect. It did not make noise. It made space. I stopped checking my phone at midnight to feel safe. I stopped proving my worth with exhaustion. The past quieted like a TV turned down. I put the old folder in a drawer. I stopped searching Pamela's name. I let the hospital scene fade until it felt like a photograph in a book I did not open. Then a Tuesday arrived that asked to be remembered. Mike asked me to help review applications for a new coordinator. Routine work. Coffee. Checkbox. I opened the portal, skimmed dates and bullet points. Then I saw a name that paused my hand halfway to my mouth. Pamela. I told myself it could be anyone with that name. I clicked anyway, the way you press a bruise to see if it still hurts. The resume opened. Same timeline. Same company. Same title. Under achievements she listed numbers I recognized like my own handwriting. Holiday season surge of 87%. Mentored a promising manager who became essential to departmental success. That manager was me. That surge was fiction built on panic and borrowed money. I scrolled through her later jobs. Short stints. Consultant contracts. Months that ended on 13ths and 28ths. It read like someone running between collapses. The symmetry felt unreal and obvious. Once she tried to erase me while I was on a heart monitor. Now her future sat on my screen, waiting for my decision. I thought about telling Mike everything. I imagined the neat arc of that confession, and the nod that would follow. Then I thought about the oath I made to myself. Justice does not need an audience. Peace does not ask for witnesses. An automated reference check pinged my inbox with her name. Conflict of interest, I wrote, and routed it to HR. Professional. Clean. Documented. I hovered over her name in the applicant list. The cursor was steady. My hand was not. The hospital monitor beeped again in memory, soft and exact. I exhaled until the breath left clean. Disqualified. The button grayed out. No speech. No triumph pose. Just gravity leaving my chest. To the system, it was an administrative click. To me, it was a door closing in a building I no longer lived in. At lunch I sat by the window and watched people cross the street in diagonals. A notification flashed. Pamela updated her profile headline. VP of Marketing turned to consultant. I closed the tab and finished my sandwich while it was still warm. On the train home, I texted my husband 3 words. Normal day, love. He sent back a heart and a photo of our kid holding a lopsided drawing of a cat. I laughed out loud and the person across from me smiled without asking why. That night I stood at the apartment window. The city lights came on one square at a time. I thought of Lois and her sentence that landed like a steady stone in a river. Some people bury themselves. It is not a trap. It is a tunnel they build with their own hands. They keep digging because it once worked. They stop only when there is no more light to guess at. Karma is not fireworks. Karma is patient. Karma keeps receipts. It waits until you no longer need it to prove anything. Then it knocks politely and hands you what you left behind. I put water on the stove and waited for the kettle. Steam clouded the glass for a moment, and then cleared. I felt the same thing happen inside me. Not victory. Relief. I rinsed the cup and turned off the kitchen light. The apartment settled. For the first time in a long time, the quiet did not feel like something missing. It felt like something I finally had. The following week felt like exhale after years of holding air. Work moved smoothly, and nobody raised their voice. For the first time in a decade, I wasn't waiting for the next crisis to land in my inbox. Still, the memory of that click lingered. It wasn't guilt. It was a pulse of disbelief that justice could arrive so quietly. I didn't tell anyone what happened. Not my husband, not Mike, not even Lois when she called to say hello. It felt private, like closing a diary after the final line. That Friday evening, I stayed late finishing reports. The office emptied one person at a time. When silence finally took over, I walked to the window. The city glowed in rows of light, each pane a different life. Somewhere in that brightness, I imagined Pamela sitting at a new desk, still rehearsing confidence, still pretending that charm could hide corrosion. I didn't hate her. Hatred takes energy, and I'd given enough. I only hoped she would someday look in a mirror that didn't flatter. The next month brought a new hire, a young coordinator named Naomi. First week jitters, wide-eyed, eager to please. She reminded me of myself 10 years ago. She carried her laptop like a shield. During onboarding she asked, "What's the most important skill here?" I answered without thinking. "Documentation," I said. "Keep proof. Not for revenge, for clarity." She laughed, unsure if I was joking. I smiled and told her, "You'll understand later." Naomi was sharp, fast, but she still believed the world rewarded effort in direct proportion to sweat. I wanted to protect that optimism while teaching her boundaries. So I told her stories, not by name, but by shape. Stories of bosses who smiled while loading you with work. Stories of praise that was really preparation for blame. She listened like someone taking notes in invisible ink. In February, Mike called me into his office. He looked tired in a way that meant good news. "Corporate noticed your team's numbers," he said. "They're offering a director position. It's yours if you want it." The air left my chest for a moment. Not because of the title, because it was offered, not taken. I accepted. Promotion meant leading people instead of saving projects. It meant finally using all those late-night lessons for something other than survival. It meant choosing calm on purpose. That weekend I cleaned my home office. Old papers, unused cords, expired passwords. At the bottom drawer I found the folder. The one that started everything. The paper edges had curled slightly from time. I ran my thumb over the top sheet. Her handwriting in blue ink. Numbers she'd told me to move from one column to another. For a heartbeat I almost threw it away. Then I stopped. Not out of spite, out of respect for memory. Proof is not anger. Proof is history. I slipped it into a new envelope and labeled it Lessons. Spring came with rain that sounded like applause on the office windows. Naomi grew confident, learned to say no without apology. Mike teased that I was building a small army of calm people. Maybe he was right. Each of them carried a piece of what I'd learned the hard way. One morning Naomi walked in waving her phone. "Look who sent me a connection request," she said. She turned the screen toward me. Pamela's profile. Her smile still the same, headline newly revised. Strategic Growth Consultant. Helping teams reach their potential. The irony almost made me laugh. Naomi asked, "Should I accept?" I said, "No need. Some lessons travel without us." She shrugged and declined. The rest of the day moved like any other. Meetings, coffee, mild chaos. But around 5, as the office thinned, I opened LinkedIn myself. Pamela's face stared back at me, unchanged except for the faint strain around her mouth. I clicked once, only to see if she'd posted recently. One article. Resilience in Leadership, How to Recover After Setbacks. 3 likes. I closed the tab. That was all the confirmation I needed. Later that night I met Lois for dinner. She'd retired a month earlier and looked 10 years younger. Over soup she asked, "Do you ever think about her?" I told her, "Less than I used to." Lois stirred her spoon, the same rhythm she used when counting columns. "She called accounting once, months after she left," Lois said. "She wanted copies of old reports. Claimed she needed them for taxes." I raised an eyebrow. Did you send them? Lois smiled, small and deliberate. Of course not. Company property. We both laughed quietly. Then she said something that landed deep. You did the right thing, you know. The quiet kind of right. Weeks passed. The company expanded, new branches, new staff. I traveled for training, spoke at conferences about workflow and integrity. People asked about stress management, and I told them it starts with knowing the difference between responsibility and ownership. You can be responsible without owning someone else's mistakes. You can care without carrying. Every talk ended the same way. Someone would approach afterward, eyes tired, voice low, and say, I think I have a Pamela. I'd nod and tell them, keep your records. Stay calm. Karma prefers documentation. They always smiled like it was half joke, half permission. One evening after a long flight, I unlocked my apartment and heard laughter from the kitchen. My husband and child were making pancakes for dinner. The smell of syrup and butter filled the air. He turned grinning. Director now. How does it feel? Like oxygen, I said. He poured batter into the pan. So, any more ghosts in the inbox? Not anymore, I answered. Just reminders of how far we've come. We ate at the counter, plates still warm from the stove. I realized the sound of the spatula on the pan had replaced the hospital monitor in my memory. Same rhythm. Different life. That night, unable to sleep, I sat by the window and opened a new document. Title: For anyone working under someone like her. I began to type notes, small truths collected from scars. Never trust praise that isolates you. If they call you irreplaceable, they might already be looking for a replacement. Keep every email that makes your stomach twist. Forward key approvals to your personal inbox if policy allows. Transparency is protection. Health is not optional. No promotion is worth in 4 lines. The sentences came easily, clean and steady. By dawn, I had 20 pages of practical advice written like a letter. Not bitterness, not revenge, guidance. I titled it The Backbone Guide. A month later, Mike read it and said, you should publish this internally. So we did. It spread faster than expected. Different departments quoted it in meetings. Someone made a poster of the line, be kind but let kindness have a spine. It hung in the hallway where everyone could see it. A quiet banner that reminded people to stay human without being targets. One morning I found a comment under the internal post. Anonymous, but signed with initials that could have been hers. It said, some lessons hurt but they help. Thank you. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe not. I didn't reply. Some conversations finished themselves. The next year blurred into calm seasons. No hospital rooms. No panic pings from inboxes at 2 a.m. Just work, sleep, laughter, balance. But peace doesn't mean absence of memory. It means the memory no longer has authority. Sometimes, when I lock my office for the night, I still glance at the computer screen, half expecting a new fire to start. Then I smile and turn off the light. The only fire left is the kind that warms, not burns. I have learned that revenge stories do not always end with collapse or applause. Sometimes they end with maintenance, with the quiet upkeep of a life rebuilt. The real ending is the moment you realize the villain has no access to your peace anymore. Pamela exists somewhere in the world, still typing, still convincing people she knows how to lead. And maybe she does now. Or maybe she is still digging. Either way, I no longer stand in the hole with her. Autumn came back around, the same season that once sent me to the hospital. This time it smelled of cinnamon coffee and new notebooks. The company held a retreat in the mountains, nothing extravagant. 2 days of meetings, hikes, and quiet rooms. I almost didn't go. Crowds used to drain me. But Mike insisted. You've earned silence in better places than your apartment, he said, so I went. The lodge sat above a lake that caught every bit of light and gave it back gentler. In the mornings mist slid across the water like it was practicing forgiveness. I stood outside with a mug, listening to the faint buzz of conversation behind me, and realized my body felt different. It wasn't waiting for disaster. It was still. During one workshop they asked everyone to write a moment that changed their idea of leadership. People scribbled stories of success, team victories, promotions. When it was my turn, I wrote a single line. Sometimes the best leadership decision is knowing when to walk away. I didn't read it aloud. I just folded the paper and kept it. That sentence belonged to me. That evening we built a fire outside. Someone brought a guitar. The group sang half-remembered songs while I watched sparks twist into the sky. At some point, Naomi sat beside me. She said, "You know, you never told us how you learned to stay this calm." I smiled. "Trial, error, and documentation," I said. She laughed softly. Then she asked, "If you could go back, would you handle that old job differently?" I thought about it for a long time. "No," I said finally. If I had shouted, it would have been noise. Silence carried farther. She nodded like she understood something deeper than the words. Then she said, "That's why people trust you now. You make them feel safe." I didn't have an answer for that, so I just watched the fire until the wood turned to quiet light. Back home, the season slipped toward winter. The new team ran like a well-tuned instrument. Naomi handled campaigns, new hires settled in, and I spent more time creating strategy instead of damage control. Some nights I reread the Backbone Guide just to remind myself it came from survival, not bitterness. It had been shared across companies by then, quoted in posts I'd never written. People sent emails saying, "This saved me." Each message felt like another layer of closure I didn't know I needed. One evening an unfamiliar number called my work phone. The voice on the other end was hesitant. "Is this Clara?" That was my real name, not the one Pamela used in her reports. "Yes," I said carefully. "This is Pamela," the voice said. I didn't speak right away. She filled the silence herself. "I wanted to apologize. I saw your guide. I think I finally understand what I did." Her tone wasn't rehearsed. It trembled at the edges, not from guilt maybe, but from recognition. She continued, "I'm trying to start over. I wanted you to know I'm sorry." The world didn't tilt. My hands didn't shake. I just listened. "Thank you," I said. "I hope you find peace." There was a small breath on the line, like a door opening and closing. Then the call ended. I sat for a long time after that. The apology didn't erase anything, but it felt like someone had quietly switched off a light I no longer needed. Forgiveness, I realized, isn't about letting someone back in. It's about letting the story stop. That weekend I went through old files and deleted duplicates. Emails, spreadsheets, backups. I kept one copy of the folder labeled lessons and stored it in the cloud. Not for protection anymore, for history. Proof of a life that changed direction and survived. That night my husband and I took a walk through the city. The air was cool and smelled faintly of rain. He slipped his hand into mine and said, "You're quieter lately." "I'm just not fighting ghosts anymore," I said. He squeezed my hand. "That sounds like peace." "It is," I said. When we got home, my child was asleep on the couch with crayons scattered everywhere. On a sheet of paper, she'd drawn our family. 3 stick figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun. At the bottom she'd written in clumsy letters, "Mom strong." I took a picture of it. That drawing was worth every sleepless night I had ever spent under office lights. Months later I was invited to speak at a leadership summit. The theme was resilience. I stood on a stage in front of hundreds of faces and told them a story, not of betrayal, but of recovery. I said, "You can rebuild from anything if you stop letting pain be your project plan." People clapped, but the sound didn't matter. What mattered was that I could tell the story without bleeding from it. After the talk, a woman approached me backstage. She whispered, "I think I'm where you were. My boss is exactly like her. What should I do?" I told her the same thing I told Naomi, and the same thing I wrote for all of you. Keep your proof. Keep your health. And when the moment comes, choose peace. It's heavier, but it lasts longer. She nodded, eyes glassy, and said, "Thank you." I watched her walk away and hoped she would never have to learn the rest the hard way. On the flight home, clouds stretched below like a white sea. I closed my eyes and thought about the long road from that hospital bed to this seat. Every mile between was paid for in lessons. The cost of silence, the strength of evidence, the grace of distance. The monitor that once beeped beside me was gone, replaced by the steady hum of an airplane engine and the quiet rhythm of my own heartbeat. I smiled and whispered to myself, the day is still mine. Because the quiet ones always get justice in the end.